Okay.
Good.
So Sandra, I'd like you just to do your own introduction and also just tell us just briefly, how did you become a LinkedIn guru? I'm just curious on what led you to embrace LinkedIn.
Like so many great careers, it was started by accident and by being laid off. So after 25 years at the University of California, I thought at that point I would probably stay there till I retired. They had other ideas. They pushed me out the nest, and who knew, but I discovered I could fly. I started, the various job seekers groups that they have to help you get new jobs, resume writing, interview skills, all the rest, including LinkedIn. And after the LinkedIn workshops, people kept coming up to me and saying, "Jay, could you just kind of sit with me and help me? You seem to get this and I'm struggling." So after I'd been doing that for a while, people were saying, you really should charge for this. You're good at it. So out of that, a business was born. And I've been doing that very happily for the last 10 years and just never wanted to go back inside because I love what I do. I get to use everything from my past. I was once a theater director. I said I made people look good on stage. Now I make them look good on the stage of LinkedIn. And I was once a teacher. And that's my approach to the way I do LinkedIn is I teach people how to use it. So I have a blast and I work with wonderful people.
Oh, nice. Okay.
So, and you become an expert in LinkedIn by doing it. I did take some programs, classes online. There are some around still. I took some of the early ones. And they were pretty good. A lot of them are focused on selling. And my focus has always been more on working with individuals. There's a little bit of prospecting, selling, but not the focus. So there certainly is training. And I am very lucky to be part of a few LinkedIn experts groups. We're international and we're kind of come from a mindset that there's plenty. We will refer each other. We all have a little bit different expertise and we just think there's enough. So we're not jealous and competitive in the way that many people in the industry are. And so we get to share our pain and suffering and what's new and what's terrible about LinkedIn. So that's my greatest teaching tool.
Good.
So I have been told by Kevin that you tend to be advanced LinkedIn users. And when I hear that, I usually look at the profiles of people in the group and I go, oh, his idea and my idea of advanced are a little different. But in the case of this group, the 8 names that Kevin sent to me, I looked at the profiles and in general, I would agree, you are advanced users. So I'm going to skip over a lot of the basic stuff, although I'm going to reference some of it because every one of you is missing at least one basic element. But I'm also going to challenge you from some more advanced stuff, sort of to up your game and talking about, okay, once you're looking good, where do you go from there? So please do, as you have questions, put them in the chat so that when they're in your mind, you get them there. We'll come back and do that. And at the end, we can also have people unmute themselves and also, just say, but put them in the chat while you're thinking about it. My typical clients, I like to reference that because I specialize in what I call social media for the socially reluctant. And, it's not everybody who wants to put themselves out there online and market themselves. It's like, oh, let me just geek out in front of my computer. Let me just do what I'm good at. Don't make me promote myself. So funnily enough, I work with a lot of marketing professionals because typical cobbler's children problem, they take care of their clients. They don't take care of themselves. I also say I work with busy, smart professionals. So they're really smart. They could learn this stuff if they had the time, but they're busy doing what they're good at. Don't want to take the time to do it. So they work with me 2 hours. We get them up and done, moving forward, so they don't have to waste a lot of time doing this. So I know my opinion about your profile, but I always like people to reflect for a moment, thinking about your own profile on a scale of 1 to 5, with 1 being, I think I remember my password. I'm not sure. It's been a while. Through to 5, which is, dang, I'm good. I just logged in to hang out with these great people. Don't think there's much to learn. And sort of 3 in the middle. So if you want to put your number in the chat, and I'll take a look at that later and give you my opinion. So I don't know if anybody's putting anything in the chat there. But in general, when I looked at the profiles that Kevin gave me, I would say most of you are around a 4, even 4.5. There's some things that I think that some of you, maybe a couple of years ago, spent some time creating a great LinkedIn profile. You got it all spiffy, looking good, and then you let it sit. So I'm going to talk a little bit about using that great LinkedIn profile, attracting attention to it, the power of connecting, and a little bit about posting. Posting could be an 8-hour workshop all by itself, but I will talk about some of that because I know a number of you are posting. So mistake number 1, and I've changed this from what I used to say. I used to sort of say it was like not having a profile at all. Okay, let's take that for granted now. But this is my big bugaboo now. Letting it sit there and thinking they will come. Oh, I've got this great profile. Why aren't people just coming and beating down the doors? Sorry, guys, it doesn't work like that. You've got to put the work in. So please don't just think you can create a great profile and let it sit there. Remember the old Kevin Costner movie, Field of Dreams? You build it, they will come. Doesn't work like that on LinkedIn. So the things I specifically saw on the profiles I looked at, I saw a number of you with no company page, no logo showing. It's free, it's easy, takes you 5 or 10 minutes. Why would you not do that? And I'll give you examples of these in a few minutes. So if you're not sure what I mean, just hang on a minute. I saw at least one of you, either he doesn't have a headshot at all, or he's not showing it to someone who's not connected to him. I'm a 2nd degree. So just be careful. Some of the settings, LinkedIn made a change. And sometimes when they do a change, you think your settings are fine, and then you find they're not, and you don't notice it unless somebody rude me, connects with you and say, hey, did you mean not to show your picture? And they go, what do you mean not showing my picture? They just haven't noticed. Some of you are not taking advantage of the new featured section of LinkedIn. Some of you are taking advantage, but you're not having it looking very pretty. And the other thing I'm seeing is the first 3 lines in your about section. And I'll show you why that's so important with some examples in a minute. So mistake number 2, and I will reference this because all of you except the one has a headshot, but some of you I've known for a few years. And I know that photo is more than 2 years old because I've known you and been connected with you since you had that photo, which might be 4 or 5 years ago. So 2 to 3 years old. I want just a headshot. LinkedIn changed their format a couple of years or so ago. It did show a bigger one. It's just the head now. Don't waste it with your body. Sorry, it sounds weird or rude. But I don't want standing headshots. I don't want more of the body. I don't want arms, just your head. We want to see that warm smile so when we meet you in person, we recognize you. So these are some of the specific examples of what I talked about. Your headline, a change on LinkedIn. You now can have 220 characters instead of 120. I am actually not a fan of that in general, but those of you who found you were bumping up against that limit before, be aware that you can have more now. But we only see the first few things when you comment on people's posts. We only see, I think in mine, you see LinkedIn training, consulting, and maybe profile up to about that point. So if you're going to use more letters, make sure you front load it with what's important. So identify your area of expertise. If you're an owner at XYZ Corporation, most of you have not done that. You realize that's a waste of time. Use that to be your marketing message. Please do take advantage. So this is something I did see. Some of you have created some quite nice about sections. And if you open up and see more, it's kind of laid out fairly nicely. But I know about you, but who the heck clicks on see more these days? We look at just those first 3 lines that show. So boy, you better pack a punch with those to make me want to open and read more. And I noticed most commonly what I saw was I saw 1 line and then you put a space to kind of space it out, but you're wasting now that space since we're only seeing 3 lines. So take a look at your profile with a visual. I am not highly visual. I've had to learn to be doing this for a while. So if you're not highly visual, ask someone else to look at it and sort of see what pops out. What do I see? Try and be like really analytical on your own profile. What are you seeing? And does it make you want to read more? So this is my first 3 lines. It looks like more than 3. Because I wanted to make it in bigger font to make it easy to read. So I have a formula that I recommend. Something compelling, intriguing. I specialize in social media for the socially reluctant is my attempt to be intriguing, make you want to read more, know more about me. I'm going to tell you what I'm going to do for you. Client facing, I'll help you transform your LinkedIn profile to get the results you want. Some of you may remember in the past, we said the about section was telling your story. That's still true, but not in the first 3 lines. If you're trying to tell your story, I am an experienced social media marketing professional, whatever, in your first 3 lines, you're kind of wasting it. Tell me what you're going to do for me, your potential client. Tell me your call to action. Make it easy for me to know what you want me to do. Call you for a consultation, go to your website, connect with you on LinkedIn. If you don't know, I'm not going to work that hard to find out. So that was something I saw a number of you with quite good about sections, but you're missing this opportunity of the first 3 lines. Really needs to be your marketing message. And I think some of you are experts in marketing, so you know what I mean, and you should be able to do that easily. So tip, new features section. I saw most of you were actually had added something to the new features section. I'll show you an example of that in a moment for those of you who aren't familiar. But what I did see is some of you have added something that does not look very good. So this is this visual element as well. So if you add a PDF, it doesn't look very pretty in general. You can add links to websites. Some websites, because of the nature of the platform that it's on, does not transfer very, very nicely. You've just got like an ugly gray or white box. So when you do it, pay attention to what it looks like. And so you can, this is powerful, this new section. It's really prominent right in your face. So you can add videos, articles, posts, links. And again, be aware, not everything looks good. So these are examples of the last 2 things I talked about, showing the first 3 lines. It's about 1,600 characters total, give or take. This, I've actually changed my featured section since then, but I have, the first one is it's what's called a document post. It's like a kind of PowerPoint slide thing. So I made sure that my first slide was kind of attractive and branded. I've got a couple of I've got a video and I've got a blog post. So pay attention to what that looks like, please. As I say, if you're not taking advantage of it, do. If you are and you're feeling pretty clever, please take another look and make sure it looks good. So this is another thing that I saw a number of you with pretty sophisticated profiles weren't taking advantage of. Having your logo show next to your company name, that also means it shows at the top of your profile. Some of you have been in business for 17, 20 years, and you're not showing a company page logo. Now, you're not going to worry about getting followers or posting a lot of stuff to the company page. If you're interested, I'll tell you why not afterwards. But you're really just to look professional and polished. Have that company page, like I say, free, easy, 5 minutes. And you'll get your nice little logo showing there. The other thing is a little trick. And again, with the change in the formatting of LinkedIn, we only see the first 11 lines of the top thing on your LinkedIn profile. And then everything below that, we see 4 lines. There's a way to kind of cheat the system. Essentially, it was set up so that if you had multiple positions in a company, you know, you were an associate, then you were a director, and then you were vice president, it now stacks your position under one company. In the same way, you can kind of cheat and use that capability to now showcase. I've shown one LinkedIn coach trainer. I've done one as speaker. I could have another that was a webinar presenter. I could have another one online classes. So you can kind of get a little more visibility because all of these things shrunk up. And people don't click on see more very easily. So this is kind of a little cheap way that any of you could take advantage of to do. Because I did new slides for you, I have to keep a little bit track of what I took out of what I added back in for you. How many connections do you have? Most of you have, you know, somebody's unmuted and there's a lot of noise in the background. I don't think it's me. So none of you have under 100, so I'm not going to worry about that. That makes you not very visible. I think pretty much everybody has over 500. Great, well done. Now you're visible to just about everybody. But the thing that some of you have got a little lazy on, you got to that over 500 and you stopped and you relaxed and you said, well, my profile shows over 500. I don't need to worry about doing more. But let me give you a couple of numbers. One, I recommend that you have at least 30 connections for every year of your age. And when I do this in person, I can look around and I see some people's eyes getting very big when they do the calculations and they realize how many that is. And then if you're in active business development using LinkedIn, it should be more than that. Now, I'm not saying connect to absolutely everybody. I recommend you connect to people you know, people you'd like to know, and people who know people you'd like to know. And that broadens it out a little. Now you have to make the decision for yourself. So I might connect with someone with a pretty bad LinkedIn profile with not a lot of connections because they need my help. Maybe, maybe not. There are certain countries that I tend not to connect with, but I do have clients internationally. So I do have a large international audience. I'm just more cautious about some, particularly say Russia. But decide for you, decide what those criteria are, and then just go for it, both in who you accept and who you reach out to. And then really kind of grow that network to the minimum of 30 per year of your age. And then if you are in active business development, you can go up to 30,000 on LinkedIn. I've actually kept my network fairly small because I actually like to engage in conversations with people. I use it a little differently than just, I'm not just out there for selling. I actually want to get to know people. So visibility and posting. I know a lot of you are interested in this. And Kevin, I'm going to rely, I'm not going to stop to look at the chat. So if there is something in the chat that you feel you should interrupt me for, I'll rely on you to do that. Otherwise, we'll deal with the questions in a couple of minutes. So I'm just going to talk about increasing your visibility on LinkedIn. And 99.9% of visibility on LinkedIn is by engagement. Interacting with people, you know, and it's really, we can blame the algorithm all we want, but it's really based on people behavior. So every day you drive out your driveway and your neighbors next door and you ignore them. And then you're in trouble sometime and you need them to go and come in and feed the cats, whatever. They're not going to feel hugely motivated. But if you, every day you pass them, you wave, you stop, you admire their flowers, you ask how their kid is doing, if you can pick something up for them at the grocery store during this pandemic, they're much more likely to want to help you, be interested. The same thing on LinkedIn. The more you engage, interact with them, the more the algorithm of LinkedIn will put your content out there. So when you post something on LinkedIn, in general, the algorithm only shares it into 10% of all of your network. Doesn't mean the network sees it. It means the network, the part of your network that could see it. So 500 connections, it's going to go into the newsfeed of 50 people, and they'll only see it if they happen to be looking at that time. So you need to do this engagement, and you can move it up to about 25%, which is usually about the max you can go unless it goes viral because somebody else picks it up with a large network. So like, comment, share. This is not rocket science. This is easy. This is human interaction. This is saying, hi, how are you? You know, great job. I love the longer haircut. You know, whatever, talk. Congratulate people. Comment on other people's posts. Make an offer to help. Doesn't have to be all about selling. It can be about helping. That's my big thing on LinkedIn, offer to help. And take it offline. It doesn't have to be all online. If I see it's somebody's birthday and I know them, I might text them or pick up the phone, plan an in-person meeting or a Zoom meeting. So this is the thing Kevin said, somebody who was asking, you need to have a strategy. Now, I'm not going to go over this in detail, but this might be part of when I work with people, we decide, you know, what the goals are. and then we set a strategy that maps to those goals. So, decide how much time you're going to spend on LinkedIn. I sometimes work with execs and I say, can you give me 15 minutes a day? They say, no. 10, no, 5. Okay, 5 minutes. And I have them set a timer and we set a plan for what they can do in 5 minutes. If you are using LinkedIn as you are doing marketing for a business, I assume you are, and say your marketing time is 30% of your working time, then decide how much of that should be LinkedIn. So maybe 30% of your 30%. So what's that? 10 hours. I know my math is terrible. So 10 hours a week on LinkedIn, and then map your strategy from there. Take some measurements. These are some things you could measure. The number of connections, who you're connected to, measure the posts, the number of views, likes, comments, view your activity. Take a note of the time and type. And move your conversations offline by email and phone wherever you can, and measure that when you're able to do that. So that's just kind of a kind of having a plan. It doesn't have to be this, it can be anything, but it's amazing if you have a strategy and a goal, you're a lot more likely to get there. So this is, I know, the part where you want to get to, and this is questions.
Okay.
So I will look at the chat, and Kevin, you've been sort of monitoring and keeping an eye on them, and we'll deal with those ones first.
Okay.
And then we can open it up to other.
This is really wonderful. It's a lot of good ideas and a lot of questions. One common question is on getting to the headline. How important is the headline in terms of the search function? And if it is important like that, should you be loading it with keywords or not?
Okay, it's a combination of things. The search algorithm looks at your headline, your job title and or job descriptions, your about section, and your skills primarily. But it changes the weighting of those regularly so people don't try and game the system. I was doing some work with a benefits company one time, and I did a search for benefits, and somebody, not one of my clients, came up number 1 in searches every time. He had put in his about section the word benefits 37 times. Now, he didn't show up after that because LinkedIn took him down. So people try to game the system, but would anybody actually want to do business with him? So you need to find this balance. Your headline is important for keyword search, and it's even more important for everything I do. When I comment, it shows up. So if my headline showed up and it just said LinkedIn, 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 I don't think it would represent me very well. So I absolutely want to have LinkedIn in my keywords in my search, but I want to communicate my marketing message, for me, even more powerful. So.
Okay, interesting. And related to that, this wasn't a question, but it just kind of triggers a question for me. What about in your list of skills? I assume that's important. Should that be ranked, ordered? And I'm trying to remember, that's actually, you have to choose off a menu, right? You can't just put in.
You can actually write in anything you want. And if you have a very unique expertise, I had a client who was an expert early days of portable healthcare records. Nobody knew about it much, but we put it in because she was the expert. She got offered this VP job within a week because if you were looking for it, she was going to be the only person showing up. So you can write in anything or use their list. Obviously, more people are looking for the things LinkedIn suggests. Now, you always have to keep in mind the algorithm, which searches all 50. It doesn't care what order it is.
Okay.
And the people. Now, for people, we only see the first 3 that show up. So you definitely want to make sure you choose the first 3 that show up. The order of the rest of them doesn't matter. But those 3, very visible, not only on desktop, but also on the mobile.
So it seems the rule of 3 is popping up in here.
Yeah.
Okay. And then MB had a question on the feature section. How often should we be updating that? I mean, what you mentioned that a lot of us just put our profiles up there and they go stale. So what's a good aspiration to shoot for?
Okay, in terms of changing your profile or updating, it's going to depend. Sometimes you might want to tweak and play with your headline because maybe the format changed. You want to see how much of it shows. But in general, if you've got a good headline, you can let it sit for a year or 2. If your about section, you want to pay attention to those first 3 lines. Your featured section, because it's so new, it literally just came out last month. We don't have a lot of measurements yet. I like to have at least one video and one blog post. Although you can scroll through, again, we're lazy. We only see those first 2.5 images. I want to make sure those 2 images that are showing are something that represents me. So maybe I'll leave an intro video there sitting almost permanently, and then change the other ones and keep changing the order so the intro one is always one of those 2 showing.
Okay.
So you always have to keep in mind the visual and fresh new.
Okay, before I unmute everybody, you mentioned videos. Some of us sat on a LinkedIn webinar, I think earlier last week. I'm in a time warp. But what came out of that was the idea that you should is a terrible word, actually have a video that shows your profile. What's your feeling on that in videos in general, and any idea in terms of what the video should look like in terms of size and content?
Video is powerful. And there are some people that are going to say, put me in my grave before I will do a video. You know, if you can get over yourself, there's a lot to be said for doing it. It's so personable. You can really create a kind of sense of your personality, of your energy, of what it's like to work with you. It's very important. People work with me. It's kind of a personal, intimate thing working on your LinkedIn profile. So having a few videos, like a YouTube channel, and giving people a sense of me is very important for people's comfort level. So yeah, if you can, great. I tend to keep them short. I know I've lived in Silicon Valley too long. I've got a short attention span now. I didn't think I used to. 2 minutes max usually. But yeah, if you can, there's a lot of ways to use them. I don't know if you're aware, I'm picking up my phone here. You can do video messages you can do it on your phone, not your desktop, to send a message to somebody. It's been there for over a year. Very few people use it. It's very powerful for business development. If I'm not getting a response from someone and I send a video message, I am much more likely to get a response. So many ways to use video, yes. And you know, if it's not your thing, you can do a video that's like you speaking and a PowerPoint, you know, that kind of, it doesn't have to be your face. But yeah, you know, I tell people, just get over yourself. Think about what other people want, not what's comfortable for you to do.
Okay. All right, I'm going to open up the chat. But one question again, MB asked about connections. And this is an interesting one. Should you prune your connections? Are there connections out there that are just so off your professional network or whatever that you should take the time to actually prune, or just let them just sit there and be part of the weeds?
You know, sometimes in certain industries and certain ways that some people have of using LinkedIn, pruning it down makes sense. I don't think it's worth your time to prune. If you get somebody who posts boring content and you keep seeing a newsfeed, you can unfollow them without disconnecting, so you don't see their stuff anymore. I don't know, we all have a few people like that in our lives who post boring stuff. If someone is rude or posts something that's offensive, disconnect with them, absolutely. I'm connected with a lot of administrative assistants because I've done some speaking engagements for their associations. Are they my target clients? No, but because I'm them, I'm only 2 degrees away from half the CEOs and executives in Silicon Valley. Not too shabby. So don't discount people because they may not be of value in the way you see them. They may not be your target. You don't know who their brother, mother, father, sister is. My goodness, at my age, it's their grandkids that are now the CEOs of companies.
All right. Okay. There were a lot more questions in the chat, but I think we'll just go ahead and open it up. So if you like
and
that.
if I don't get to those, if you want to put those questions afterwards in the group, I've also joined the group, and I will be happy to kind of continue answering there as well.
Well, thank you. And that also reminds me too, make sure you guys reach out directly to Sandra. She's now joined our group, and she's got a lot of great things to contribute to our group. And I'm sure she would love to do a coffee with you, a virtual coffee.
Right, or virtual wine.
Even better, much better.
Hey, can we stop the screen share for this part?
Sure.
Sure.
Much better visuals.
I have a question.
Mas, it looks like you've got a halo over your head. Okay, questions.
I have a question. Sandra, you were explaining the thing about stacking the different services or profiling what you do. I have an agency, so we do a lot of different things. You know, we have writers and web and all that kind of stuff. It's marketing.
So that would be great for you.
How do I do that? I didn't understand that part.
If you look at someone's profile who's been in a company for a number of years and you see the way it's stacked, or you look at mine, I've only got 2, but you just have to twist your brain around. Instead of thinking of a new job title, you think of a service. So instead of thinking of my new title as associate director, you think of the service I want to add is video marketing. The service I want to add is content development. And you just have to twist your brain around. And I do work, I mean, mostly I work with people in a kind of 2-hour overhaul, but I also do shorter sessions for people who are already advanced users if you just need help doing a particular thing. I think you didn't have a company page either, or did you? No.
And
So
LinkedIn.
you could do it, all of that, and they would all stack up nicely under your nice company logo.
So you do it under job title or something like that?
It's like you're adding a brand new job, like you got a promotion, except the promotion is a service.
Okay. All right. I get that.
If you
It's
look, it might start to make sense. It's hard to explain.
So Sandra, a question in the Q&A too. How easy it is to reorder these things? I mean, especially in the feature stuff, because it seems like you're kind of forced first in, first out on LinkedIn. Can you easily change the order of these
Gosh,
stuff?
yes. So long as it's not ended. So any jobs that are ended, you can't change the order. Any jobs or services that are all current, you can. So when you first add that new service, the default's going to be to the top, and then you just drag it down under your main description.
Oh, you can't drag it. Okay.
Absolutely. And your featured section, you go into the editing and you can delete, change the order, and you absolutely should do that.
Okay. Marvelous. Okay. Questions, guys?
I have a etiquette question. You were talking about saying congratulations and things like that, and I've seen a lot of like posts where people will say, I did this thing, and the thing is kind of innocuous and whatever, and that's fine. There's lots of congratulations, and then someone will post like a tactic or a strategy, and like so the example that I've told Kevin about before, sorry Kevin, is that someone posted an anecdote about why influencer marketing was successful with like zero evidence behind it, and underneath were like 25 people saying like, you're amazing. And I didn't do this, but I felt like writing back and saying like, that is a terrible sample, this doesn't prove anything, like, and I didn't, because it felt like it felt dickish, even though like the post was like, there was nothing in the post. And so I guess my question is, when you're engaging with people like this, what's the etiquette? Like, can you be critical as long as it's constructive, or is it just at the moment it feels a little backslappy? And so like, if you don't want to be a backslappy, like, is that a line you should walk, or is it just better to just do the like, just get your like in there and say, and get your comment noticed?
You and I need to have one of those wine meetings.
Okay.
I have stories about this. So it depends. Sometimes people will write to sort of, in a sense, they're bragging about their own expertise, and it's kind of like taking over somebody else's post. There are, in addition to fake profiles, like you can go to a vending machine in Thailand or Russia and buy followers and that, lots of fake profiles. There are also programs that, in addition to going out and connecting with people, can post or do things like very superficially. So you don't even know if it's a real person.
Yeah.
A lot of people treat it like Facebook, either just like or well done. If you write a comment that's respectful and adds to, remember your title is going to show. So say, for example, somebody wrote saying, if you sort of say, I have to respectfully disagree with this. I'm wondering whether a better example might be. Keep it short, brief. Some people don't like that. I disagreed with somebody, so I didn't comment on their post because that would also promote it within my network. So I wrote another post saying it made me sad to see that somebody had written about this.
Yeah.
She contacted me offline, and I don't usually engender this kind of attack, but I am sanctimonious. I am unbelievably rude, and etc. So you just don't know. So I would be respectful, short comment, and maybe use it as a trigger to write something that is worthwhile.
Okay.
So both a longer and a shorter answer than I'd like to give.
Thanks.
So there was a question here from Bob, and I think the answer is yes. But in the past, you could go to a connection and you could figure out how you connected. I assume you could still do that.
Yes and no. It used to be on LinkedIn, you had this wonderful thing called notes and tags. And I did that always when I met people. So I met people at a speaking event or something, and I would tag them all with a particular speaking event that I went to. Or I would write a note about a conversation. They took that away from us, and you only got that, not for premium, but only for Sales Navigator, you can do that. So what I started doing is when I connect with somebody, they might not have written a message to me, but I will write a message. It was nice meeting you in the Klatch, let's stay in touch. 5 years from now, when you ask me, how do you know Allison? I can do a search by person's name, by topic in my messages, and my message will have that communication.
So you have to do a little effort, and it sounds like that's a good
if you did a download of all of your content in LinkedIn before they took that away and you archived it, that's still there, but that's way too much effort.
I didn't do that.
And so I'm going to ask the elephant in the room: Sales Navigator or not? What's the average person on this call?
Okay, there's different elephants. So there's the baby elephant, which is LinkedIn Premium, and that's an easy one. In general, most people don't need it. You can do most everything you want to do with free. I mean, Job Seeker Premium is $30 a month. Even if you're not a job seeker, you might want to pay for that. $30 a month is a lot better than regular premium, which is $50 a month. I think that's a lot for what it offers. If you keep trying to do things and LinkedIn says you can't, like you do a lot of searches, you're bumping up against search limits. There are ways around it. Maybe you want premium. If you, but in general, LinkedIn is constantly telling you should pay for it. Most people don't need it. And we can, if anybody has an individual reason, talk to me. And Sales Navigator is a whole different beast. It's not perfect, but it's expensive. It's like $79 a month.
Yes, per person.
But it is pretty good. You can do, if you're doing serious prospecting, lead generation, whatever. And if you have any premium, you know how you can do LinkedIn Learning, and it's really good classes. So if you're a learning junkie, I got a class on LinkedIn Learning for free about Sales Navigator for 3 months, just to learn enough so I could talk about it in a presentation. It's not something I want to do. It's not the way I do LinkedIn. So Sales Navigator, maybe. I know a lot of people paying for it who aren't really using it. If you work for a company and they've got a company subscription and you've got it, great. Remember though, if it's not your subscription and you drop it, you will lose all the information in that. That won't transfer to your personal account when you leave that company.
Okay.
But just be aware. But Sales Navigator, yeah, but expensive. You need to make sure you're getting the value out of it.
Okay.
Premium? No.
Thank you. Other questions?
Either elephants or mice or anything?
Can I ask another etiquette question that Riley just kind of triggers something that happened to me recently? So what about if you get like kind of a spam comment on something that you posted? Like I recently had someone and they reached out and connected with me, and then like in the comment they're like blah 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 and here's what I offer and you should PM me. And I was like, oh, that doesn't feel good. But I also am like, you look like a D-bag anyway, so maybe I just leave that. But
Yeah, they're really representing themselves. What you can do if it's really inappropriate, you can just delete that comment. If somebody's just disagreeing with you but doing it respectfully, then I would say no. I don't like getting involved in arguments on LinkedIn. It just doesn't feel appropriate to me, and it's not my style. But yeah, if they're really douchebags and they're really inappropriate, it just makes me queasy. I just want them gone. So just delete the comment. I would in that case. And if you get people that ask to connect with you, I'll make a decision And if I've made the wrong decision, and then the first thing they're doing is trying to pitch me or sell me or proposition me, I thought I was too old for that, but it's not, apparently. I delete them and report them, kept them removed and block them. Block people so they can't see you anymore or have anything to do with you. And sometimes you need to do that. It happens occasionally.
So when you block somebody, though, are you giving them the death sentence? It seems like in the old days in LinkedIn, it was a death sentence. If you got like 3 of them, I think you were kicked off the island. Is that still true?
Well, there's a difference. If you block them, I have people who had stalkers and problems like that. Blocking doesn't, but report. So there's 2 stages. You can just block, but you can also report them. If you report them and they get a few reports, then yeah, they're likely to get removed from LinkedIn.
Okay. So we're getting close to the top of the hour. So
so I'm available as long as you are, but I know you've got business to cover, and I'm hoping that you'll add your additional questions. I saw there were some ones about connecting, requesting. I will look back, and I didn't have a chance to kind of really read that, but please do put them in the group. And with LinkedIn groups were good. They got broken. LinkedIn tried to fix them. They broke them completely. They tried to repair them. One of the things with groups now is even if you have your settings that you want to get notifications, your old groups, you won't get notifications. You have to participate and then you will get notifications. And if you're not getting notifications, mark in your calendar to come into this group at least once a week and check. And once you do that, you should start getting notifications. But
fantastic.
And you can make them valuable again, because this would be a great group. If LinkedIn would send you notifications.
Well, thank you. That